Welcome to the UltraCycling Magazine show.
Well, hello, everybody. Lee Kreider here with UltraCycling Magazine. Jim is not here. He has been called away to work again. I don't know. It seems to be the story of his life. And don't ask me why. I'm all pink. Just right before we went on the air, my camera had a glitch. And when it came back, it was like this. So I don't know if I can fix it meantime or not. I guess I won't try because I probably messed something up. Glad to have all of you with us. We appreciate every last one of you here. And we want to thank all the people who make this show possible. The people who run the time stations here in Ohio for the Race Across America. Time stations 41 in Oxford, 42 in Blanchester, and 43 in Chillicothe. And of course, we always thank Mike Minium, the sign man who puts out the signs along here in Indiana and Ohio. You can get these signs at the time station, and you'll help him put one out as well. They make a wonderful souvenir for your trophy wall. Collect some autographs on them, what have you. So keep that in mind. And we want to invite all of you to follow us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. And when you subscribe, we want to make sure that you ring that bell. Well, we got a lot to get. Whoa, who's ever ringing that bell? Please stop. Okay. Got to get a hold of that guy. He just keeps ringing that bell. Anyhow, I'm going to have to do some of Jim's work tonight. As you know, he's going to be the MC, I guess you call it, or starter, or what have you, for the new Race Across the East, which starts in Blanchester, Ohio, on June the 19th, just as the very first of the Race Across America soloists will be coming through. Brand new race. And the registration now, the last I looked, was 22 people had registered. And the limit is 55, so about halfway there. And also, you should know that the discounted registration fee ends on the 15th of January. So if you want to save yourself a little money, getting the Race Across the East, now's the time to jump in. And if you want to do that, you can go to our website, ucm.bike, and in the show notes for tonight's show, you'll see a link to the Race Across America information. I have a little video here. See, things don't go real smooth when Jim's not with me.
My name's Janet Edwards. I live up in the Northeast Ohio area. I've been racing gravel for the last 14 or 15 years and looking to add some new fun gravel events to my schedule this year. I'm excited. I signed up for the Coal Country Roubaix. It will be the second gravel race of the season for me. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing some new roads and hoping that we have some more women at the event. And just looking forward to checking out the new course. And just looking forward to seeing you guys in April. Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing you there, Janet. And we hope that some other women will sign up for that. Make this a really great event for Joe and for Ohio. And while we're at it, we're going to talk a little bit about the Race Across the East. I do have a video for us from one of the people who signed up for that. Pat Mesler, is that how you pronounce your name, Pat?
You are one of the few people to actually pronounce it correctly.
You have told me that you are the first person to sign up for the Race Across the East. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if that's true or not. I was just so excited to have like a race even remotely close to me in Buffalo to not have to spend huge amounts of money to get to, essentially. I was so excited. So I've been trying to figure out what race I could use to qualify for RAAM that wouldn't break the bank, and I'm glad I found one. So I think for me, it opened up at 2 p.m. So it was 12 p.m. Mountain Time is when it said it opened. And I was right there on the computer to give away my money.
Well, no matter. You were early. What's your goals for a race across the East?
To have a better experience than the last ultra race I did, the Psycho 48, which went good, but not as good as I wanted. And to end up to come within the time restrictions to qualify for RAAM.
I think we're going to have a full house. The limit is 55, and I believe the deadline for the discounted rate is January 15th. So we'll be looking forward to see you there in Blanchester. We'd like to see you qualify for RAAM. I see that's probably your goal, correct?
That is 100% my end goal for being there, as well as to ride my bike as fast as I can.
Very good. Thank you for being with us.
Yep, thank you.
Well, we'll see that race. So a lot of things happening here in Ohio. We're real excited about it and glad to see some real important races happening here in Ohio. Well, REA is starting here. And also, I want to tell you that the World UltraCycling Association membership is open. I'd like to encourage people to join. You may say, I'm not going to do a world championship event, but hey, I'm not either. And I belong because I think it's important to support this organization. And there's going to be more things happening. And I think you're going to find that whether you're doing races or challenges or anything or not, they're going to provide more reason for you to join in the year ahead. We had Joe on the show, Joe Barr, a couple weeks ago, and he was talking a little bit about that. So again, at our website, ucm.bike, in the show notes for tonight's show, you'll find a link there to learn more about the World UltraCycling Association. Hey, join up and give this group the support they really need and deserve. Just the reminder there, you see on the ticker, you can ask your questions and make comments by clicking on the comment section of either YouTube or Facebook, and we'll post them here for our guests. I think maybe at long last we're streaming to Instagram. I thought we were last week, and it turns out we weren't. I don't know. This is it's either make or break time on that, but we'll see. Anyhow, if you're on Instagram, sorry, we can't take your comments and questions there. They just are not going to let us do that yet. Hey, enough of this chatter. Let's get on with our guest. First of all, I'm going to bring someone that's not been on before, John Gill, there in San Francisco. How are you, John?
I'm doing well, thanks, Lee.
Well, we're glad to have you here as a part of what's your team name?
Team Disabled American Vets, I guess. That's what we're saying.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring a couple of people that's been on the show before here. Let's get this thing out of here and we can see you a little better. Okay. Bill Engel there in International Falls, and with Puccini there in the center. And the person who's really the official diva of the UltraCycling Magazine, Kristen Sampson. How are you guys tonight?
We're great. Thank you, Lee.
We're doing well, Lee. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, we love you guys, and you're so much fun to be around. And of course, myself being an opera lover, and Kristen being associated with New York City Opera, why it's kind of a natural. You just got to do it. But so, how did you guys get together?
Well, we all grew up together. We grew up together in Bryan College Station in Texas, and John and I were classmates. And Kristen attended a different high school, but we were all kind of ran together with the same group of folks, and have stayed in touch over the years. And we go out to California and visit John and his family, and just had a great time. We both have sort of got into cycling and decided last summer that this would be something we'd like to do, and we're real excited about it, being part of this group and being able to support disabled veterans. And John's father served in Vietnam, and so it's we've had a lot of family and friends that have served, and it's just something we're excited about, and just humbled by the whole thing.
Well, before we go any further, I want to say again, in the show notes for tonight's show at ucm.bike, you'll find a link for a donation page for the team credit for Disabled American Veterans. I believe that's the organization, correct?
That is correct.
And you can go there and support not only this team, but disabled veterans at the same time by clicking on that link and dropping a few dimes on them. I know they would appreciate that. And we hope that you raise a lot of money. Now, I know that was it last year you did RAAM, Bill?
That's correct.
You did the Race Across the West last year. John, what about your ultra cycling experience? Tell me a little about what you've done.
Yeah, I was just it's funny you ask, because I've been on a bike since I was probably 2 years old on a tricycle. It's funny. But as a kid,
that's where we all started.
Yeah. As a kid, I actually used to race BMX when I was about 10 till I was about 13, and we moved to Texas. Couldn't find a BMX track anywhere there. But it's just been sort of an enthusiast hobbyist, and just recently got serious about it. Just last year, I got serious and really started training, and got involved in the California Triple Crown series of races, which are a bunch of double centuries that are engineered to inflict pain. and really enjoyed them. I really, really enjoyed the double centuries. And, I crewed for Bill last year. We did Longhorn 500 and crewed for him, and really sort of, that's where it all started for me, and then just been really enjoying it. So, I'm going to continue doing doubles all year, and then hopefully we'll finish this RAAM.
No. None of this hopefully stuff here.
Hopefully we'll finish it in 7.5 days.
There you go.
I'll go along with that. We just we are against all negativity.
Yeah.
Here on the UltraCycling Magazine, because it only causes grief, and so we don't like that at all.
Yeah.
But and Kristen, you're going to be one of the crew chiefs, or are you the chief crew chief?
I'm essentially the chief crew chief, but I will work hand in hand with Coach Don Miller, which I'm thrilled about. Tell him about that.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, from our conversations last year, you're quite a detail person.
That is correct. And I think our biggest concern was making sure that he stayed hydrated and had enough nutrition. And of course, with these hot temperatures, especially in that initial half, which would be the raw half, we've got to just make sure that we can keep both of these gentlemen in good physical shape, in terms of hydration and nutrition. And of course, all of the details with all the spare parts and keeping them on a good schedule. But I'm sure both of them can speak to that, because we've kind of laid out, a couple different types of strategies. And now I'm going to be the one to be the watch keeper and help them implement them. So it's a pleasure.
Kristen, what did you learn last year?
Well,
you're going to put in place this year.
I have to say, our biggest learning curve was, this might sound a silly way to say it, but we can never anticipate, obviously, for all of the challenges that we'll face. And one of them was a sandstorm. Now, Bill, being the smart cyclist that he is, actually had some goggles that are ski goggles in the back of the our supply closet in the van, and so he was able to carry on without having to stop. We saw so many cyclists along the side of the street or the highway at that point that couldn't carry on because they couldn't see through the sandstorm. But the engine of the car, we had sand kind of everywhere, and I would say the biggest thing that we learned was that your gears, would we call them gears or
The cassette,
the drivetrain. Thank you. The sand does very unfriendly things to bikes. Let's just very succinctly say that. And that would be the biggest learning curve, that we have to make sure to clean them in intervals when you encounter sand. And I would stress that everybody along the route kind of take note that you can have an unforeseen sandstorm in the middle of your 105-degree weather. So definitely a challenge there.
If I remember correctly, last year wasn't quite so hot as what they've had it in the past. You did catch a little break. Let's hope that happens again. It's just been so miserable out there over the previous years. Well, Bill, what did you learn last year other than to have goggles?
Well, the goggles were just lucky. I mean, that was, trying to overpack and didn't know what we were going to face. And of course, riding in northern Minnesota, sometimes you need to wear ski goggles. So I had just thrown them in, but it worked out. Glad we had them. Probably the biggest thing that I've learned is, you can't bulldog everything. Sometimes you just think that you can get on and ride forever. And when you can't ride anymore, you take a little break and then you get back on. And that's not necessarily the best strategy. So, having a little bit better of a plan to get a little rest before you really need it, or before, you just kind of pass out on the bike, is probably a better strategy than just trying to go forever.
Okay, Jerry Brick, our perpetual fan, is here. He said, never say just or only. Yeah, that's right. That's our four little words we don't allow here at all. There's no justs or onlys in UltraCycling. Well, if what you just said is true for the Race Across the West, I think it'll be quadruply true for Race Across America, because it's not just 3 times as long, it's 3 times as long, and that's a difference. John, what do you think about all this? How do you think you're going to approach it? Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think key for me is just to keep training. I've got a pretty intense training schedule. I've been working for the last, 8 months, and I'm just going to keep doing that. And so, so that I take that factor out of the equation, try to be in the best shape I can be in. And then just, I think, Bill and I have talked a lot about strategy and planning, and certainly with a lot of the doubles I've done here in California, one of the things I've learned the most is you got to be flexible and adaptable with your strategy. So I think we have multiple plans, and, we're just going to have to adjust based on whatever gets thrown at us, weather, issues, whatever it is, right? We're just going to have to push through whatever is thrown our way and adapt.
Have you guys had much chance to work together on your transition strategies and what have you?
I don't know that we've really worked on our transitions. I did go out we went out to California this summer and spent about a week out there in San Francisco with John and his family. And, we did a bunch of riding and, talked a lot about some events we'd like to do. Then we sort of got into the whole RAAM thing, but we have not done anything with the transitioning. We're going to have to sort of figure that one out. I think I'm going to end up going out to California and probably picking up John and driving down to Oceanside. And so we'll have a little bit of time to work on some stuff there. But, right now, I think the big discussion is probably more nutrition and how we're going to handle that. And then just how long the pulls are going to be. Are we going to go 15, 20 minutes at a time? And then as it gets into evening and people need rest, are we going to make it, 3-4 hours and then try to switch off? And like John said, something bad is going to happen and we're going to have to deal with it and you're going to have to move on. I think it was the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until you get hit. So, something will happen and we'll deal with it and move on and solve some problems and hopefully just keep going.
So, what's your crew look like, Kristen, and number of vehicles, et cetera?
Right now, we're looking at 2 vehicles for these wonderful gentlemen, and we've got family members who are going to be involved with us for crew, as well as friends that we almost consider family. But we have Bill's 2 sons and John's son, and then we have wonderful Coach Don Miller, and then my sister will be joining us, who's a doctor. I'm going to try to get her on the first leg, especially for the heat, just to make sure that we get a good routine in place for hydration and nutrition with these gentlemen. I think having a physician aboard for at least the initial start will be quite helpful to us, because I think that the hydration portion is just so critical when it's, we've got those moments in that intense heat.
Well, the heat situation, John, have you anticipated that? Have you had much experience with this kind of desert heat?
Yeah, believe it or not. I mean, San Francisco is really unique in that, it's pretty cool and temperate here all the time, which is nice, right, for riding. But, you go 30 miles east and you might gain 40 degrees. So actually, I did a double century. It's called Best of the Bay, which climbs up Mount Diablo, which is a pretty severe climb, and it's always late summer, early fall, which is kind of the hottest time of the year around here. And that day we had temperatures around 105, pretty dry heat. And I'll certainly say I learned some lessons about hydration. I actually did really well on my hydration, and literally half the race fell out because of sort of poor hydration, because it was just stinking hot, right? And we climbed like 15,000 feet in 200 miles. It was a brutal one, and so I learned quite a bit about, sort of what I was doing right with hydration. Ended up giving one of the guys I was riding with, he said, I'm going to sag out. And I gave him I had a half bottle of water, and I knew we were coming up on a time station. So I said, why don't you finish this? Gave him half a bottle of water, and he said, oh, thank God. It's the only way I could finish this race. But yeah.
Had to show off Riley there. He's making a place for himself. That's an interesting thing. Dogs do that. I've never quite figured out what it's all about, but
yeah, ours does that too. We call it.
It's one of those things. Oh yeah. You mentioned Mount Diablo. I told John for one there. My son lives there in Sunnyvale, and he's more of a runner than a cyclist. All he does both, and I think he's cycled up there and run up there. I'm familiar with where you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, John's area out there in San Francisco is great. When we were out there, we did a century together, and John could tell you more about where we went. But I mean, I think we started and it was 9 a.m. and it was about, I don't know, high 50s, and then we crossed a bridge and it felt like it was in the 40s. And by the time we got up to the top of one of these mountains, it was 97. And I mean, we were just dying. And by the time we got back to the bridge, the crazy part was we could hardly see across the bridge.
Yeah.
And it was back to, I mean, you were stoked because you were riding through a cloud and it was 40 degrees. But that was, I mean, John just has just epic routes out there. It's just incredible cycling. I'd encourage anybody who likes to cycle and ultra endurance type stuff to get out there and see the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I was talking to John a little bit before you guys arrived. I said, well, I'll say it a little different. One of the smartest business people I know, or I've seen, was down there at Fisherman's Wharf, down there by the cable car where you got on them, selling jackets to tourists who thought they were going to California in the summer and found out they were freezing their patootie. And he was selling jackets as fast as he could. What a smart guy, you know. Opportunity.
Yeah. I think there's a what is it, Mark Twain quote: "The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco."
San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful, very unique and great part of the American heritage. I think that's one of the nice things about this country. There's so many different facets about it. I have friends in Scotland who said, "Oh, yes, I've been to America. I went to Florida." And I think you remind me the story of the elephant. You know, while I grabbed a hold of his tail, it must be a snake. So, anyway, well, let's. I've digressed. So, let's talk a little bit about the disabled American veterans. What can you tell me about what they're doing and what some of your thoughts about raising funds for them in specific?
You know, I'll start a little bit because John and I also have a classmate from high school, Ron Minter, and Ron is a disabled veteran and works for the DAV in Kentucky, and Ron was our contact point for this, and you know, we had stayed in touch throughout the years, and he really got us started with the DAV site and how we're going to do this and how we're going to promote it. And so, you know, we're really thankful for not only for his service to our country, but, you know, for helping us out with all this and giving us the contacts. And then really just becomes, you know, we're just, you know, so thankful to all of these people who have served. You know, I have an uncle, a cousin, multiple friends who have served, and you know, it's our way of giving back. And so we came up with a number of, you know, $30,000 that we would like to raise. And you know, as it gets closer and closer to that date, we're really going to push for that. And then, you know, Kristen had mentioned Coach Don Miller. Well, Coach Miller was our high school basketball coach and our dean of students. And, you know, he sort of kicked our tail into shape from time to time in high school. And now that he's in his late 60s, he had, like we said, he had served in Vietnam, and you know, he's very proud of his service to our country. And you know, it's just one more person that, you know, we're trying to represent while we're out there. And you know, the funny thing about Coach Miller is he hasn't really changed. So at 67, when he's 67, he's out there supporting us, and we're riding. Typically, he's telling us, well, we're not riding fast enough, or we're not riding hard enough, or we're being too soft and we complain too much. And then when you're not looking, he puts his arm around you and hugs you. So, I mean, that's just kind of who he is. And, you know, so we're riding for him and our friends and relatives, and maybe let John, because, you know, like we had mentioned, John's father had served as well.
Yeah. My father served in Vietnam. It's a combat vet, Navy combat vet, was part of the underwater demolition team, which eventually became known as the Navy SEALs. He was, you know, injured in the war, and came home, and you know, the war really had a more of a emotional and mental effect on him, and he really had a hard time reintegrating, and it was hard growing up with him. And you know, eventually my mother and him divorced, and you know, we were estranged for a while, but sort of got back together later in life and got to hang out a lot. And he passed away, unfortunately, about 20 years ago. But had just about everything you can imagine wrong with him. And it was really related to a lot of what he faced in Vietnam, right? And so I'm always in awe of veterans. I'm always, you know, I have a deep, profound respect because of my father, and I have quite a few friends as well that just from just about every branch of service. And I think it's the ultimate encourage to sign up to essentially sign your life up to protect everybody else in this country.
Yeah, and you think about it now, there's no draft. The draft isn't active. We have an all-volunteer force, and the people that are serving are people who have chosen to do that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that there are some people out there that are watching and caring for our veterans. I think sometimes they have been neglected, but if you'd like to help again, the website is ucm.bike, and this will be the top show right now. On the website, you can go down the show notes right there, and you'll see a link where you can click on and give a few bucks to help John and Bill reach their goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate, anything that anybody can give and support. And, along the route, we are planning on meeting veterans along the way. And that's what the DAV is going to help us with.
Good. That's a great idea.
Yeah. As we get to time stations, right, we would do the switch or the transition. And if John's just getting off the bike, he's going to be there and available to sit and talk with some folks. And, if I go on, and then obviously we switch and we do the opposite.
Yeah.
Having Coach Don Miller, who's a veteran, with us is, obviously going to be a treat as well, because he's been there, he's been through it. And, we really look forward to meeting people along the route and getting to talk to them, hearing their stories. And hopefully we're going to be able to get a lot of these stories published on the DAB site as well.
Now, there's a little bit of delay between the time you send us a message and we get it here, and we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. So if you've got any questions or comments you'd like to make, get it now, because inevitably, as soon as we go off the air, comments start coming in. So do it right now. So if you have something you'd like to comment about what we're talking about. Well, we wish you guys well. We thank you for being on the show again. Bill and Kristen, always glad to see you. John.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks, John, for coming on, getting acquainted with you a little bit. We wish you well. We'll be 3 time stations here in Ohio who will try to welcome you as they come through. We're here generally 24 hours a day. See, I have a comment came in. Oh, Jerry's here again. Hi, Jerry. Wishing you guys a great race.
Thank you very much.
Jerry's out there in Kansas.
All right.
I don't know I don't believe he's anywhere near the course, but maybe he'll pop out and see you. But we try to give you a little boost right before you hit the Appalachians, which you're going to need. And that's one of the things we do here.
Awesome.
And we made it all the way through, Kristen, without once talking about opera. That is remarkable in and of itself. But don't go away after the show's over. Oh, dear. And I want to talk about next week. Let's see here. Let me get the right thing. We're going to have Jimmy Toner on. That might be a name that many of you know. He's from Cincinnati. But this year he did his very first racing event, the UltraCycling Psycho 48. I talk about starting out at the top of the show there. He loved it. We're interested in supporting him as new to the sport. He wants to be a part of it. We're going to try to get somebody in here who has a bit of experience to be with him. If you'd like to do that, just volunteer. And try to encourage a new person to come in on the event. So that'll be next week, Sunday the 14th, I believe, if my math's correct. And we're looking forward to have Jimmy with us. Got another comment here. Jerry says, 70 miles north of the RAAM course. That's about what I recall. So Again, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being viewers. Thank you for your support of UltraCycling and of UltraCycling Magazine. You have made this year of transition, this past year of transition, remarkably easy and remarkably fulfilling for that. And as I say, hang around, gang. We'll talk a little bit when we go off the air. We're going to go find Greg and see if he can get us out of here.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.